New York and Pennsylvania, two giants of the American Northeast sharing a long, straight border that seems to cut arbitrarily across the Appalachian landscape. They look like twins, born from the same colonial history, forged in the same industrial fire. But they are not. They are complete opposites. One is a global empire, a state defined by a single colossal city that bends the world to its will, a place of relentless ambition and constant reinvention. The other is a commonwealth of scattered cities and sprawling countryside, a place of quiet industry, deep-rooted tradition, and fierce local pride. How did two states, starting with such similar geography and resources, diverge so dramatically? What invisible forces along this shared border created two profoundly different societies, two different ways of being American? The answer is not one single thing, but a cascade of choices and consequences, a story that begins with two rivers, two groups of settlers, and two fundamentally different ideas about the purpose of a state. This is the story of why New York and Pennsylvania are complete opposites. To understand the divergence, we have to go back to the beginning, to the rivers that gave them life. Pennsylvania's story begins on the Delaware and Susquehanna rivers. These rivers were broad but shallow and difficult to navigate far inland. They were perfect for early settlement, for small farms and trading posts, but not for building a global commercial empire. New York, on the other hand, had the Hudson. Deep, wide, and connected to the Atlantic, the Hudson was a natural superhighway into the heart of the continent. This single geographic fact would set the two states on entirely different paths. Pennsylvania was founded by William Penn in 1681 as a holy experiment, a haven for religious tolerance, particularly for his fellow Quakers. They were joined by waves of German immigrants, the Pennsylvania Dutch, and later the Scots-Irish, all seeking fertile farmland and freedom from European wars and persecution. These groups were agricultural, independent, and deeply skeptical of large centralized government. They spread out across the state, creating a decentralized landscape of small farms and independent towns, each with its own distinct character. Their culture valued community, hard work, and a quiet, unassuming life. This created a political culture of localism and limited government. The state's constitution was designed to keep power diffuse, to prevent any one group or city from becoming too dominant. The culture was one of pragmatism, of suspicion towards grand projects and powerful elites. Philadelphia, for all its importance as the largest city in British North America and the cradle of the Revolution, was always seen as first among equals, not an absolute ruler. It never dominated Pennsylvania the way New York City would come to dominate New York. The state's identity was, and still is, a mosaic of its regions, not the projection of a single urban core. If you are enjoying this journey into the hidden history of America, now would be a great time to subscribe to our channel. We post new videos every week exploring the stories behind the maps. Okay, back to the border. New York's story is the story of the Dutch and the English. The Dutch, who founded New Amsterdam in 1624, were merchants. They were there to make money, to build a global trading post at the mouth of the magnificent Hudson River. When the English took over in 1664 and renamed it New York, they inherited this commercial DNA. New York was never a holy experiment. It was a business venture from day one. The culture was transactional, ambitious, and relentlessly outward-looking. It was a place where fortunes were made and lost, where risk was rewarded, and where the accumulation of capital was the highest calling. This created a political culture that saw government not as a threat, but as a tool to be used to advance commercial interests. And it had the perfect tool to realize its ambitions. The Hudson River, a deep water channel that led directly into the heart of the continent. For a century, the two states developed along parallel but distinct paths. Pennsylvania became a powerhouse of agriculture and later coal and steel. Its cities, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Harrisburg, grew as regional centers of industry and government, but they remained just that, regional centers. No single city could claim dominance. The state's power remained decentralized, its culture a patchwork of local identities. New York, meanwhile, was all about New York City. The city's merchants and bankers controlled the state's economy. Their influence was so great that they successfully lobbied to move the state capital from New York City to the small, centrally located city of Albany, ensuring that political power would not interfere with their commercial ambitions. But their ambition was not limited to the Hudson Valley. They looked west to the vast, resource-rich interior of the continent. There was just one problem: the Appalachian Mountains. This is the moment where the two states' destinies were sealed. Pennsylvania, true to its culture of fiscal conservatism and limited government, hesitated to fund the massive infrastructure projects needed to cross the rugged Allegheny Mountains. It relied on private companies to build a complex and ultimately inefficient system of canals and railroads, a patchwork solution that was never truly integrated. New York, with its centralized, commercially minded government, made a single audacious bet. In 1817, the state began construction of the Erie Canal, a 363-mile man-made river that would connect the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. It was the most ambitious engineering project of its time, a stunning act of public investment that many thought was impossible, deriding it as Clinton's ditch after its champion, Governor DeWitt Clinton. When it opened in 1825, it was like turning on a fire hose. The canal funneled the immense agricultural and mineral wealth of the Midwest directly into New York City. Shipping costs plummeted by 95%. A ton of wheat that cost $100 to ship from Buffalo to New York by road now costs less than $10. The city exploded. Its population, its wealth, its influence all grew at an exponential rate. It became the undisputed financial and commercial capital of the United States. The Erie Canal made New York the Empire State. It turned New York City into a black hole of economic gravity, pulling in talent, capital, and resources from across the country and around the world. Pennsylvania, with its slower, more cautious approach, was left behind. It tried to compete, building the main line of public works, a bizarre and inefficient system of canals, inclined planes, and railroads, but it was too little, too late. Its cities continued to grow, but they could not compete with the Colossus on the Hudson. The state's economy remained focused on heavy industry, coal from the Appalachians, steel from Pittsburgh, and manufacturing in Philadelphia, while New York diversified into finance, media, and global trade. This economic divergence created a political divergence that lasts to this day. New York's politics became dominated by the liberal, cosmopolitan values of New York City. The state government became a powerful force, investing in massive public works, a statewide university system, and extensive social programs, all funded by a tax base heavily reliant on Wall Street. Pennsylvania's politics remained a tug-of-war between its industrial cities and its conservative rural countryside. The state government remained weaker, its role more limited, and its tax base more reliant on traditional industry. This created a feedback loop. New York's government had the resources and the will to invest in projects that further cemented the dominance of New York City, while Pennsylvania's government lacked both. Today, in 2026, the results of these two different paths are stark. New York is a state of extremes, anchored by the global megacity of New York City, a hyper-dense multicultural hub of finance, media, and art, and upstate, a vast rural region that has more in common with Pennsylvania than it does with the city that shares its name. The state's economy is dominated by high-end service industries. It is one of the most politically liberal and highest tax states in the nation, driven by the progressive politics of the city. Pennsylvania is a more balanced and in many ways a more representative American state. It has two major but not dominant cities, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, each with its own distinct history and culture. Its economy is a mix of old and new, with strong sectors in healthcare, education, and advanced manufacturing, but also a continued reliance on energy and industry. It is a classic swing state, a place where the political and cultural tensions of the nation are played out in every election, from the liberal suburbs of Philadelphia to the conservative heartland. The invisible line of their shared border separates two different worlds. On one side, a state defined by a single global city, a place of ambition and constant change, where the future is always being invented. On the other, a commonwealth of scattered cities and towns, a place of industry, tradition, and local identity, where the past is always present. It all comes back to the beginning, to the Hudson River, a gateway to an empire, and to the Susquehanna, a river that fostered a quieter, decentralized way of life. Two rivers, two groups of settlers, two ideas about the role of government. That is the story of why New York and Pennsylvania, two states that look so similar on a map, are complete and utter opposites.